All right, so today we're going to get right into how my client Luke was able to lose 25 plus pounds and 8 inches in 16 weeks. Like I said in the intro video, if you guys are busy or if you guys struggle with losing belly fat, you're a busy nurse, you're a busy medical professional, this video is going to be for you. And also, like I said in the intro, this will be a little bit of a longer video, about 10-15 minutes. So just keep that in mind. So let's get right into it. All right, so a little bit about Luke's backstory. He was working full time as a pharmacist, so a lot of 12-hour shifts. He didn't have a lot of time to eat. He was eating fast food a lot, whatever the other, coworkers would bring, which a lot of the times was Taco Bell, which was one of his favorites, McDonald's, things like that, right? A lot of quick things on the go, DoorDash and Uber Eats, not a lot of nutrients, not a lot of healthy foods, right? He was feeling exhausted 24/7. He was working 12-hour shifts, like I said. Eating habits were all over the place, and he wanted his confidence back. So I'm going to show you in this video exactly how we got him his results using the volume method. This is the same method that I use for all my clients and the same method I use for myself. And I developed over time, 9 years of training and 8 years of, training myself as well. So you don't need hours in the gym. You don't need hours in the gym every single day to get to your goals. I know a lot of people think you have to be in the gym 7 days a week or 5 days a week, 2+ hours a day, but that's not even necessary. So let's break down exactly how the volume method works. So it's broken down into 2 phases. So you have the PRM phase, which is the first 90 to 120 days. You focus on calorie deficit, focus on strength training. Cardio is only used as needed, which is why it's called PRN. And then the stat phase, where we reverse diet. Maintenance phase, immediately going to increase the food intake to reverse diet you up to make sure that your metabolism is firing. But what you'll notice as well is that your strength will go up and you'll be doing more cardio because you'll have more energy to expend. All right, so for the Epiphany Stage, which is the first phase, this is usually when you start to notice that your habits are not aligned with your goals, right? So for Luke, it was him eating, a lot of fast food, like I said, during the work days, but he would have some days where he didn't eat at all during his shift. And then he would get home and he would have like one meal, but it would be like a huge meal, right? I know one meal a day sounds like nothing, but believe it or not, if that one meal is super high in calories and is very low in protein, low in nutrients, then you can still gain fat and lose muscle, right? So that's exactly what happened. His food choices were super high in carbs and fats. And I remember him telling me about like his eating habits, and he was like, yeah, man, I'm only eating one meal a day. It's probably less than like 2,000 calories. So I asked him, I was like, what are you eating? And he told me, a bunch of rice, like probably 8 cups of rice, which he thought was like 4 cups. Cause a lot of times we misjudge the amount of carbs that we eat. We underestimate carbs and we overestimate protein. So that's exactly what he was doing. He was eating about 8 cups of rice, which is crazy. I know, but when you're starving, you can eat a lot, guys. And then as far as like the food, it would be, if it wasn't Taco Bell, it would be him throwing some Tyson chicken tenders into the oven or whatever. So he'd eat like everything at once. So that one meal that he did have was like 3,000 calories, super low in protein, very high in fats and carbs, which is why he was gaining a lot of fat in the abdomen section specifically, right? Also, another thing I wanted to say is anybody who's a former athlete, because he was a former athlete, so a lot of his eating habits were very similar to when he was an athlete. However, obviously he wasn't expending as many calories, so he didn't need to continue those eating habits. But I see that a lot of athletes do struggle with that. Like once they stop playing sports in high school or college, they continue the eating habits, but they don't continue the expenditure, right? So another thing, he was very inconsistent in the gym. He would plan to go some days and work long hours or work a double or stay later or go in earlier. And he really felt like his time was limited. He could never get a plan going that worked for him. So another thing he noticed was, like I said, he was a former athlete. So he noticed that his endurance was way worse. Like he tried to run a mile, and mind you, he would usually run miles in like 6 minutes, 30 seconds, but he tried to run a mile and he only got like halfway through and he was already at like 7 minutes. So that was kind of a wake-up call for him, running half a mile in 7 minutes and not being able to finish. So for his PRN phase, what we did is we focused primarily on nutrition and just preparing so he knows exactly what he's going to eat during his shift. I know this is a huge problem in the medical field. A lot of people, they're so focused on taking care of others, they forget to prioritize themselves. So that's exactly what we focused on with him. He would go to work. Before working with me, he would just go into work, right? He wouldn't bring anything. He wouldn't bring any snacks. He wouldn't bring any meals. He would even have a plan of what to eat. So like I said, he might eat something from his coworkers, like some Uber Eats, or he might just not eat anything throughout his whole shift. And then when he gets home, he'll just eat that big meal that I told you guys about earlier, right? So like I said, first thing we did, worked on getting him in a calorie deficit, bringing different snacks. Now for him in the pharmacy, I told him to make sure he, actually takes a lunch break. So he started doing that. Even if it was 15 to 20 minutes, just taking that time aside was really, really, enough time just for him to get his meals in. And then also just bringing protein shakes or grabbing a protein bar just to keep his metabolism going, because those sound like very small, minor changes. But as you're going to see, in the next few slides, it went a very, very long way, right? And as far as Taco Bell, I know he loved tacos, so I continued the tacos, but I replaced them with ground beef tacos, as you can see right here, and ground turkey tacos, just because the meat is way leaner. And then when you make it from home, there's going to be way less, calories, just because you're using less butter, using less oil, all of those things, right? And then as far as candy, he was a big candy fiend, so we replaced candy with fruits. And as far as, chips, he loved Doritos as well. We replaced that with like popcorn and, portions of pretzels. And really focused on portion size and also high protein intake, because that's going to keep you more full as well. All right, so part 2 was the strength training. So like I said earlier, he struggled with inconsistency in the gym. So what we did for the strength training is we focused a lot on working out on his off days, so it could actually be realistic. Because let's be honest, if you work a 12 to 16 hour shift, sometimes you might be able to work out afterwards. But if most of your workouts align with your work days, it's just not going to work out, right? So we put most of his workouts on his off days, which was about 2 days a week. And then 1 or 2 of his working days, I would give him, an at-home workout that he could do, still resistance training, body weight. So that'd be way easier for him. And we kept the rep ranges between 6 and 12, just because this is the best rep range for hypertrophy. 6 to 15 range, that's going to be the best for hypertrophy. With most movements, compound movements, closer to 6 to 10. And then isolation movements, that's going to be closer to 8 to 15. And of course, efficiency in the gym was big as well. Just getting in and out. Like I said earlier, you do not need hours in the gym. If you have a solid plan that you can be consistent with, you will see the results, especially when you pair it with good nutrition and consistency. One more thing we focused on was progressive overload, of course, as you can see here. So as far as progressive overload goes, just make sure that he was getting stronger over time, and make sure that he was maintaining his muscle mass as he was losing fat. All right, so this is right before we get into the stat phase. So as you can see right here, after 12 weeks, he went from 197, 37-inch waist to 182, 32-inch waist, right? And then the last 4 weeks, as you can see, he got really, really even more shredded, more of an athletic physique, which was his goal initially. And as I'll tell you guys in a little bit, he did get stronger and he did get more endurance as well. So let's get right into it. So the stat phase. Slightly increases calories. Like I said, we increased the carbs. And then also he was still in a deficit. So it was more of a slight deficit because, like I said, we increased his carbs and we added a little bit more cardio. He had more energy. He was gaining even more energy because, like I said, I increased his carbs, and he started losing more body fat because the expenditure was higher. He was running, he was running a mile again. He was finally getting the times that he used to get, which is awesome. And then as far as the workouts, he was getting stronger and stronger and stronger. His bench went up, his squat went up, all of those things, all the compound movements, and then also the isolation movements went up as well. All right, so to wrap it up, like I said, Luke lost 25 pounds in 8 inches in 16 weeks using the volume method. Like I said, volume method, 2 parts, very simple. You got the PRM phase and the stat phase. We prioritized strength training. We didn't spend hours in the gym every day. He spent less than 4 hours in a week in the gym. The calorie deficit was sustainable because he had some of his favorite foods and he enjoyed all his meals. A lot of people like to just not season their foods and just try to quote unquote eat healthy, but your body does need sodium, especially when you're sweating a lot and you're working out. So make sure that you are seasoning your foods, because if you're not, it's not going to be sustainable and you're just going to, fall off your diet because you don't like plain food. No one likes plain food, right? And then, like I said, we added more cardio in the stat phase and we focus on small sustainable changes for the most part. And we worked out mostly on the off days. So if you're a nurse who struggles with belly fat, nurse who doesn't know what to eat on your busy shifts, if you're a busy medical professional, pharmacist, radio technician, anything, then this video is definitely for you. If you're ready to prioritize yourself, lose 20 plus pounds, 6 plus inches of belly fat in 16 weeks, I will not only help you do that, but if I don't help you, which is, it's not going to happen. As you can see right here, the program works. I'll refund it if it doesn't work. I'll refund you the money if it doesn't work. But as you can see right here, all these results, these are all medical professionals, and everyone lost at least 20 plus pounds, 6+ inches off their waist in 16 weeks.